Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bose Nail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, and David Wayne Foster. So another huge thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. With that, I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Google and Discord so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Why do you want to do that?
Why not? Well, that's why I said, what hobbies you got? What interests you? Don't tell me work interests you.
No, I have to get back to the work, dude. I gotta get back to my what keeps me. I'm not 22. I'm 55.
All right. But when you come home from work, what do you like to do?
That's I like to sit down and chill. After I work and I make money so I can pay my bills. Sitting here waiting for the
Awesome.
government doesn't help me. That's my point. We went over the summer. Where did we go? My wife's sister decides to go to Bear Mountain. Doesn't look into it at all. When I tell you the walking that I had to do with a bad knee, a disaster. At least over 6 miles just to get to a spot.
Sounds exciting.
So I take
Not
it
with a bad
hiking's
knee,
not.
but
I take it hiking's not on the top of your list.
No, I can't stand it. It's hard. Maybe when I was younger, yeah, but when I'm going, when you get up and you get dressed, you get your family and you're ready to go somewhere to do something maybe fun, and it turns into a freaking workout.
well,
No.
the workout will strengthen your knee.
All right, let's change the subject.
Yeah, no pain, no gain, right? Righteous.
Right. Well, I don't know if I want to agree with that.
Well, the workout will strengthen your knee. I said, "Oh boy, here it comes." When you said it, that's
I
good.
posted something about the distance to horizon. It's everything that we discuss. They start with a radius, though. All the
Well,
time,
yeah.
it's from the center of the Earth.
Yep.
Let's just say
Well,
there's
that's
good
from
pain and there's bad pain.
the radius in the
Workout
center of
pain
the
is
Earth
good
is
pain.
bad pain.
Yeah, but I
it's-
see what you're saying, Tenten. I can't get that third line from the surface. It has to be from the center.
Everything has to be from the center to form an angle on a
Right.
circle. The only way you
Mhm.
can form another angle is to come outside from the circle, but that doesn't work.
And then it also has in there how Rumpus gets his puts his two circles to get a tangent. There's a problem with Earth. There's not two circles here. There's not even one. Well, it might be. It might be. The Earth might be a circle, just not a sphere. Correct?
Correct. We're not sure what the Earth is, but we know it's not a sphere with a radius of 3952. Blah, blah, blah. Black swan. Therefore, the sphere is dead. Now, the Bible does refer to the Earth as circle of the Earth, but it's not the word for ball, so it could be a circle. I don't know.
Well, the luminary is moving in circular, right?
Well, the luminaries definitely are moving because that is what's moving, or you would have Earth-based Coriolis.
Right.
So luminaries are what's moving at 15 degrees, the sun. That's why it says in Genesis for times and seasons and all that. So it's a perfect design.
Hey, Tent, were you on? Did you stay on yesterday when Brian was reading that thing with Bob?
No,
Oh my goodness.
no. Let's move on to what we're talking about here. I like this subject a lot better.
No, I need to hear some of this stuff.
No, I don't want to hear
I'll fill you in on it later.
Yeah, I don't want to hear
I'll let Brian fill you in on it.
Just keep it on the subject.
It's on a different subject with that dielectric acceleration.
No, I know. I want to keep it on this Earth radius subject is what I'm trying to say. Because it's over for the globe when it comes to the sun. The sun destroys the globe. The way the sun works destroys the globe. They try to make it sound like it works for them, but it works against them, actually. You notice when the sun sets, the light doesn't evenly set from left to right across the horizon. It converges towards the sun as the sun is going away from you.
Yeah.
Well, then it's not coming in parallel rays, is it now?
Nope.
Okay, and then we've got all the video footage of crepuscular rays. So it's not coming in parallel rays, does it now? Nope. So then you can't have that radius in the middle be the angle to form everything they need for navigation or even get an angle, because the sun rays have to be parallel for that to happen.
Won't they put its distance as a cause?
But that's the point. If its distance is far away, the way they say, we would only have one beam, and it would be parallel to our reality because it's one
How do
beam.
you know that?
Well, let me finish. Because when we see crepuscular rays, we see different rays. We don't see one ray. If the sun is far away, you wouldn't see all those rays in the crepuscular fashion. That just proves the sun is not 93 million miles away. It's much closer. It's more of a local sun than a 93 million mile sun. Because as you take light away from you, you lose all those crepuscular rays, and it's just going to be one ray hitting you. And that's not what
Oh,
we
so
see.
as you pull it away further, it'll only be one, you're saying.
Yeah, well, yeah, just take a flashlight, take any light source and do it yourself. It's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's what they say. Okay, fine. Well, if that's what it is, then how come we see crepuscular rays? How come it looks more like a local light source rather than a 93 million mile light source? Because it's not 93 million miles away. And then when the sun sets, all the light follows the sun as the sun's going away. Well, if it's a 93 million mile away sun, the whole horizon would look that way. It wouldn't converge.
What I'm saying is, I'm sure they have an answer for it.
Yeah. From a box of Cracker Jacks, as someone said to me. That's their answer.
Their answer is to show you the diagram where it depicts it as parallel, Neil.
That's it.
Look at it side on. They're parallel. That's what they'll do. Well, that's what they do.
They do. The dodos do. Hey, Nathan, there's a couple of videos I put up. You just turn down the sound. The first one is a Master B. It says it's over for the globe model. Can you show a little bit of that? The corpuscular.
Got no sound.
Yeah, you don't need sound. You
It's
just need
playing.
the
I just
video.
need to make it look a bit more pretty.
What's that?
Not filling the screen very well.
Well, it's a time lapse over Houston, and anyone with eyeballs could see what the sun's doing.
It's in Master B.
Uh-huh.
I'm not getting it.
It's above the link.
Okay, that's it. Played.
So you are playing
That's
it?
nice.
It was playing, but
Oh, it was. Okay. I didn't know between Neil talking and me talking. Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty obvious. Here's a time lapse. Here's what the sun is doing. And sextant won't work. So you can't take this to the center of the earth in the imagery and the way they want you to do it. No angle can be formed on the surface of an arc without two straight lines. And that's why the sextant does work, because we're not on the surface of an arc, a curve. It's so over for the ball, just with the sextant and the sun, let alone the black swan and everything else.
No, Rumpus has H. He has an H.
It's over. People who escape the asylum don't make the rules.
Which I listened to that yesterday, and he did say when we use orthographic view, and he said he didn't say it, but he did say it.
Well, the best thing he said yesterday was the sun rays curve.
yeah, I noticed you timestamped that in one of the clips. I noticed you timestamped him saying that.
Yeah, 47 seconds into that intro.
You know
And
what's
then-
interesting about this corpuscular ray video you're showing? If you take a closer look and put it in 4K, you can see the shadows of the trees also going in different directions.
I'm so happy you said that. That was going to be my next move on it. The angle of the sun is what causes the shadows. Good one there, Righteous.
Okay, I've done that now. Put it in 2160, but presumably at the small frame, unless I make it fill the screen, in which case, let's just try it. Let's just see how it goes. We'll only get a certain proportion of it, though. In other words, it's fill my screen, but we're only going to get section. I mean, it looks glorious here in 4K, but you're not seeing that. There's got to be a way. Hold on, let's just see if I can. Oh, there we go. That looks a bit better. Capture my whole screen. There we go. Don't think I'm broadcasting in 4K, but it means that it retains enough of the resolution when it comes through at 1080p for the audience that they'll still see what you're talking about, if you want to say that again. Now it's rolling.
Go ahead, Righteous.
Well, you go on. This is your presentation. I'm not taking your burden.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought I was giving you the glory. Yeah. Well, basically, you could see, especially. Well, I've got two more. Nathan, keep going on to the third one I put up there. Is in slow mo almost, and you could see the angles, and you could see it's going to change the shadows of buildings and trees that it hits. And so, very good point, because the illustration that we use and the way the sextant works is the angle to the sun is what tells you your distance to the sun's zenith position, the geographical position over the earth when it's directly overhead at its highest point, where there is no shadow or very little shadow because it's directly over. That's part of the earth. But everywhere else, there has to be a shadow because the rays come in crepuscular, not parallel. And the only way they can get a shadow is if the earth was an arc surface and having parallel lines. But since you don't have parallel lines, you ain't got an arc surface either. You're on to the second one or third one, Nathan? Oh, Nathan.
Yeah, I found a good timestamp for that other 4K video, like at 16.
The third
So
one.
it's not just because. Oh, am I interrupting? Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. No. Was it the third one or
Because I
second one I put
remember
up?
the reason I said the shadows is because the ballers will sometimes. I remember the baller one time using like these rays also being created like in the foliage of a tree, right? So
Yeah.
they could say it's like a optical illusion. But if you look at the ground and you look at the shadows, they match pretty closely the rays. Like
Yeah,
if you
no,
look at the
it's
tree shadows, right?
it comes through clouds,
But
it
I'm
comes
kind of
through
like,
trees.
go on.
No, it comes through clouds and trees. That's not taking away from the angle of the crepuscular whatsoever. I got one from an airplane. Wait until I go find that one. You can see the wing of an airplane. So now you're not on the earth, you're in the air, and you can see it's. And then I've got crepuscular rays going up, sideways, and downwards. Because the sun is a circular object, and the rays have to go in every direction.
Right.
And it shows it.
What are you talking about?
Crepuscular rays.
Here, I'll post you the video. Vacuum. Give me a sec.
Thanks.
Vacuum, we're talking about how your globe is dead.
My globe.
Just let him see the video, then we'll explain what the point is again if he's not kept up. That's fine.
And man, I think Nathan was ignoring you when I spoke. He spoke straight away.
Again?
No, he wasn't ignoring me.
Anyway,
Oh, okay.
got 10th diagram with figure 2A and figure 2B. Got what they're requiring versus what we actually experience. They require parallel light rays. Simple stuff.
Yeah, very simple.
So simple a vacuum can understand them.
So simple I can understand them, did you say?
We may not have the diagram I've got. Any chance you can post real world, the sun above a flat earth, and Eratosthenes' mistake in Discord server for me, please, Righteous? So that
Right.
they can keep up with what we're using as the conclusion frame, if you will.
It's in Discord now.
Thank you very much. There you go. It's
Welcome.
very simple. To argue against
So
it.
what's the quote unquote baller's response to this? This is a new one on me, this.
Well, to deny reality, to say, yeah, they are parallel when they're clearly diverging, when you actually look at what the sun's rays are doing, if you want to call those lights that pass through the cloud's rays. So you have to deny reality, basically, as a baller. I'm not digging at you, by the way. That is just what you've got to do.
What I mean is, have they explained this phenomenon that you've pointed out?
Yeah, with figure 2b. They just say they are parallel when they're clearly and visually obviously not. I've just told you that 3 times, by the way.
Don't get upset, Nathan. I'm just asking.
I'm not getting upset. I'm pointing out that I've now repeated myself 3 times with the same exact thing paraphrased 3 different ways.
No, but the rebuttal to the Eratosthenes mistake is these crepuscular rays. Is that right?
You like? I mean, I can expand it
Yeah.
a 4th way. In the frame that says Eratosthenes mistake, let's just get it back on screen for my audience. It's an orthographic view showing a representation of the light passing across your field of view from right to left. Number one, you'll never achieve that, but that is how you get the rebuttal. They say, here's how the light is actually moving from a position you'll never get a vantage point from.
But does this depend on a flat Earth depiction of the sun, or what? I don't understand.
No,
I'll have to read more.
okay,
This is brand
sure.
new on me. This.
It's reliant on reality, what the sun actually looks like when you look at it, versus how Globe Earth claims the sun
I can see that. I
reaches-
can see.
my
the
bad.
problem with this
My
then.
bad. My explanation for the question you ask requires interruption, does it?
You're always getting
You
so
tell
angry,
me.
Nathan. You can't just
tell
have
me.
a discussion.
You tell me. Interrupted. Go ahead. You tell us.
Well, I suspect I can see the problem from our perspective is that you think that the sun is small. Is that? Does it rely on that?
No. You want to try
Okay.
again?
I might be
Worth
mistaken.
the interruption. Great
No,
interruption. by the
no.
way. Of
My
course,
God,
the person that
you're
doesn't know
so
what's going
anti
on
today.
is still talking. Of course. Carry on. Maybe demonstrate how ignorant you are of this another time. Do you want to try again? You're interrupting.
Well, I'm saying I'm completely ignorant. This is the first
So
time I've seen it.
shut up. If you're the most ignorant here, shut your mouth. Is that not? Is
Well,
that not
aren't you
obvious?
supposed to be teaching us?
Shut up! I don't mind telling you off. In fact, I quite enjoy it. Yeah, you are the most ignorant here. I'm trying to tell you, and you keep interrupting. And then when I, entertain your interruption, you just demonstrate again how ignorant you are. And when I point out that you're the one talking, you should be listening. What part of that don't you get? Isn't that common sense? If you don't know something and someone's explaining it to you, shut your mouth. It's very simple. We all clear? Can I continue?
Yes, you can continue.
Thank you. So in the globe Earth depiction on screen, you're looking at things side on. So you'd see effectively your own head in the frame of this view. Now in the 2A picture of the sun, in answer to your question, the combat that you've got to take part in is against reality, what the sun actually looks like if you have a picture of it. Now if you look at 2A, that's just what the sun does. That's what it looks like. That's what these light rays, as we're calling them, do when we show photos of them. They don't present themselves in an orthographic view side on with parallel rays, which is how your globe explains this. Hope that
But
was
the
clear.
shadow that has been measured, or ballers used to measure, that isn't that an amalgamation of all rays at all time?
Yeah. At all the different locations that
So
they're gonna
it doesn't matter then, does it?
get. Can you be in multiple places all at once?
Are we going to get onto this?
I'm
I
just
can
asking.
answer that one.
Well, why not? Why don't you want to answer that?
Well, you can have multiple people in multiple places at the same time.
Okay. And does that mean that one of those locations is side on 90 degrees to the Earth and the Sun at a distance of approximately 50 million miles?
I think you're misunderstanding.
I'm misunderstanding that the view given by the globe to explain this represents itself as me looking at the entirety of Earth from space. You're telling me that's unreasonable to say that's not a view you'll get, but you're saying it is reasonable to give us that orthographic view that nobody's looking at, because multiple people can make this observation where in orthographic view they assume the lights come in parallel. No, we don't get that view. We're not seeing the lights coming parallel. We never see that, no matter which position you occupy. Hope that clears that up.
Well,
That's what I was saying earlier. I think the major flaw I can see straight away is that flat earthers think the sun's really close. That's
right,
the problem?
I already covered this. When you said, is that an issue? And I said, no. Was that suddenly your assumption that I'm now making that as a claim? In spite of me saying, not only is that not part of this argument, the argument being detailed about the orthographic representation you don't get to see, versus your assumption I'm now making a claim about the sun being small. No, that's what's known as a straw man fallacy.
Well, no, figure 2A suggests the sun's really close.
It's just a depiction of the sun, how it looks. If
Yeah, but it's bullshit depiction.
Oh, my bad. My response, obviously troubling you enough to interrupt again, Mr. Ignorant, don't really understand that the 2A depiction is exactly like the photographs we started this conversation with. Is it not?
No, I don't think it is.
Oh, really?
Tanner, if you watch,
no worries, no worries.
if you-
Can someone post in Discord a picture of the sun, a still, for me, please? That we can see which closer represents it. Whether or not we see a sun with light rays coming out it, pretty much as depicted in 2A, or when I bring up a picture of the sun, suddenly we see the side of a presupposed spherical Earth. Definitely won't be the latter, I can tell you that much. The former, yeah, that pretty much looks like the sun looks like. Yes, it's a cartoon diagram, but we've got a sun with light coming out in various different rays, like we showed in depictorial form only moments ago. I'm sure I can find one in here somewhere. Have a look through these photos in Master B. I am certain we will find one.
And masturbate, did you just say?
Master B, yeah, that's the name of it. Here we go. So that's a picture.
Oh, I thought you said masturbate.
Got on screen a picture of the sun doing what the sun does. Don't see the side of my own head. Don't see the side of a sphere Earth.
No.
Why are you laughing? What's funny?
Sorry, this isn't going to be a hill I die on, Nathan. I don't know enough about it yet, but I've seen some really serious flaws and I've only just looked at it.
Do you want to tell us what those are beyond my straw man that you're using that I say it's a small sun and that didn't come up in the argument whatsoever? Is there another objection that you could actually detail? Or is this a hill you're not going to die on?
From my initial look, both of the images that you've shown me that prove these crepuscular, I'm struggling to say that, crepuscular rays, the Earth is either really close to the sun or really small, or both.
Oh, so that's your assumption then?
No, not from the diagrams. That's what it depicts.
Oh, so what you're saying, from what you can deduce based on the obvious and observable nature of what we see in a picture, you think it's close. That's fascinating. Meanwhile, it doesn't represent itself as your parallel light ray depiction. It is pretty close to the what's called flat Earth model in this. I hate that term, but nevertheless, it's just a depiction of what the sun does and how it looks and how it behaves. And I showed a photo moments ago of it doing pretty much exactly that. Definitely didn't see the side of a sphere Earth. Definitely didn't see parallel light rays. Definitely didn't have anything that would tie into your explanations of how you derive circumference.
Nathan, when you get a minute, I'd like a minute with him.
He's not going to die on this hill. He wants to claim that he can see problems
No,
that
that's
he's
not the
detailing.
hill. No, he's on the wrong hill, if I may.
Thanks, I heard. He's detailing problems that he says he's got other than a small sun. He hasn't actually raised any. He's also simultaneously making it plain he hasn't got a clue what he's talking about. It's his first brush with this.
Yeah,
he's not holding any
As I
position.
said, it's not the hill. It's not the hill I'm going to die on.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is there are two serious issues I've spotted. That would
Two?
need
I've only had one.
explanation.
What's the other? I've dealt with the first one. Your
Well,
claim
sorry,
that...
the issues
I'll
with
just
both
clarify
of your
before...
diagrams,
Hello?
Nathan.
Hello?
Not two
Hello?
separate issues.
Hello? Don't keep
Hello?
telling me there's
Hello?
a couple
Hello?
of issues. I'm going to clarify. You're going to get kicked out.
He's playing games. Come on, stop.
Yeah, you're going to get kicked out. And Neil, just keep it to yourself if you don't mind. You're making matters worse. So, I'll clarify. You say there's a couple of issues. We've heard one. Your claim that the sun looks small in the actual pictures. Okay, I don't care. But that's not an issue. That's your claim that the sun looks small to you in pictures. Fascinating stuff. Not an issue. Definitely not a problem with orthographic representations. So is there a second one or not? Or do you want to duck out of this conversation, leaving the audience with the impression you've got other issues that you just don't want to raise? Go ahead.
No. The only way you'd get light traveling in the directions that have been depicted is if the sun was that close, because only light rays.
We heard! I'm not
very
deaf!
parallel.
I'm not deaf. I heard. I don't need it repeating, right? Don't go through the same babbly nonsense about your assumption of the size of the sun again. I don't care about your assumptions based on what you think is observably obvious. I don't care. Is there any issues with your orthographic representation and parallel light rays? Because that's what the argument's about, not your assumption of its size based on photos. I don't care. That's not an objection. Certainly not an issue with my argument. So, anything else other than your little assumption about what the sun's doing based on pictures? Anything else?
Thanks for screaming over me there, Nathan. Was it getting too close?
Was there nothing else then? I take it this little ad hom, little criticism of how the show's moving forward is you not having anything else, yeah?
Not if you're going to respond like that.
Oh, it's because I'm telling you you're thick, ignorant, don't have another argument, that you're not going to present the second argument you haven't got. No, you just don't have anything. I've dealt with your assumption of the sun size, which isn't an issue with my argument, not at all. Yeah, I've pummeled that into the ground. Now I'm telling you off. Why would you assume this is an issue? It's not, you thick idiot. You're being told by a flat earther that your assumption of the sun based on its visual, obvious, small size, according to you, is definitely not a flaw in my argument. You haven't got anything else. You think me telling you off is the reason you haven't got anything else? You want to blame and project your ineptitude onto me? No, sunshine, you just don't have anything. That clear? Or verbalise what you do have. So, you don't have anything.
But yeah.
Yeah, that prolonged silence was your opportunity to present your second issue you don't have. Now you'll be put in your place. Yeah, there is no objection. We debunk the heliocentric assertion of parallel light rays in orthographic view by simply putting up a picture of the sun. And all you can say is, well, in the picture of the sun, it looks small. Wowee! That helps the globe Earth and its orthographic representation of parallel light rays now, doesn't it, dipshit? No, it doesn't. So sit down, know your place, understand what you've declared already. You are ignorant. Good lad.
Well played, Nathan.
Played? No, not a game. A debate. You lost.
No, you just shouted over me.
A game would be us playing chess. Meanwhile, I'm presenting an argument that debunks an assertion of parallel light rays in orthographic view. You're talking about how big you think the sun is. Yeah, that would be a debate you lost, not a game. A debate you lost. Now you're interrupting the summary of your loss in this debate about the heliocentric globe Earth model we don't live on and how it claims we've got parallel light rays by putting us in a third position. Something that you don't really understand, have challenged with arguments you don't actually have, and have paraphrased your assumption of sun size as some sort of rebuttal to this. No, you entered into an arena on an argument you didn't have any clue about and then lost badly. That's what happened. Not a game, you're lost in a debate here. Is that clear?
I don't think I agree with you, but...
I don't give a toss what you agree with. That's a fact. You lost, you complete clown. You don't have a clue about the subject. I do. I debunk heliocentrism. You come along and tell me how big you think the sun is, and then tell my audience that you've got other points you would have given if you hadn't been told off for your absolute stupidity. Yeah, you didn't have any further arguments. You were a liar. You wanted to blame me and telling off you for your lack of second argument you didn't have. No. You will get told off because you are thick. You will be put in your place, and then it will be highlighted that you didn't have a damn thing. You thought you did when you thought the sun was small in a picture? Wow! What fantastic rebuttal. Pathetic, globe-believing idiot. Hello, Arwin.
Hello, I made it just in time.
No, I'm a minute late with my intro. I was busy telling off a fundy.
Yeah, I heard.
Fun.
Good times.
Good times indeed. What a lovely day! Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Arwin, 10th Man, Neil, father of a stolen child, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning. Good Friday.
Good afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon, hello, wherever you may be.
Are you sponsored by Octopus Energy now, Nathan?
Not sponsored by them, I just promote them to get a £50 rebate and offer the audience a £50 bonus for swapping their electricity supplier, as made clear in the intro.
Thank God for that. I thought they'd gone mad.
Why would it be mad to sponsor me?
Well, I don't think many companies want to be associated with this kind
I
of...
couldn't give a shit what you think. You're a clown who doesn't understand arguments you come here to argue about. Have it pointed out how little you know about them, have the rebuttal of your own side pointed out to you, and still think you're in a position to tell us you've got arguments, as we found out in the pre-show. So you're the dumbest person here. Your opinion matters not.
Can we continue on that pre-show for a few minutes?
Well, we spent the whole day yesterday doing a glossary topic. Like, what does a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of a clock from behind the reified curve that's now debunked by the black swan, what does that mean? We spent the whole show doing that. So I was hoping to do housekeeping, because it's the whole point of housekeeping is to get them quick fire at the beginning of each show so that the main points that debunk heliocentrism are laid out for the audience straight away.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah, but I'm here now. You don't need that.
Sorry,
This dumpster fire. This is a dumpster fire already when I'm here.
Yeah, you're damn right about that.
Yeah.
Oh, Vacuum, just stick around afterwards because I have a couple of questions to ask.
Try and involve
Go ahead,
yourself in the
Nathan.
housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
No.
It only exists in the math.
That's unfortunate, given that they used to claim it blocked boats and buildings.
They do. They do.
They don't. They don't.
The black swan king.
They do in the math.
That's it. We can all go home. Earth's not a sphere. We've debunked Earth curve. That's basically the end of the argument, right there. Black swan. That's all you need. Earth's not a sphere. Any comments? Anybody at all? Maybe some big math
I want to
thinks you
see
can
a
defeat this?
3D orthographic view emulator. I want to see that happening.
Oh, we discussed that in the pre-show. The orthographic
Oh.
representation.
All right. Never mind. I'll listen back.
Stress the importance of the black swan argument in this regard. There is no geometric physical sphere-edge horizon. It only exists in the maths. The horizon is not Earth curve. Hey, Brian. Brian.
Hey,
Brian.
hey, Brian. Hey,
Nathan.
Brian.
Hey everyone, how are things?
Very well indeed. Good to have you.
Good to be on, thank you.
Any
Hope you're
evidence,
all
of,
well.
any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
No,
No.
Nonsense.
No, we're not spinning.
No. The sun is moving.
What would be the evidence if we were spinning?
Everything.
No,
Throw a
it would
football.
be
It's going
everywhere,
to
yeah.
deviate.
Go on, Owen, sorry.
It's everything. It would be a very spinny, path-altering world. It would be the entire world would be like being on a roundabout. Every time you lob something into the air or lift off in the air, there's going to be deviations constantly, all the time.
Well said.
Okay, that's
Fifth-
very interesting because I had a catch with my son yesterday because the weather was nice and the ball kept going straight. He threw it to me, I caught it. I threw it to him, he caught it. So what would be the effect if I was spinning?
It would drift. The ball would drift
1,500 feet per second.
at your location.
You were on
You'd be in the
if you were
major
on the
leagues.
equator.
You'd be in the major leagues, Neil.
You were on the equator, it'd be 1,500 feet per second deviation. At where I am in California, about 750 feet per second. So if you were a second away from me from the time I let go of the ball, that ball would be 750 feet eastward.
If the air was rotating with a rotating surface, right, as is said to be in the heliocentric model, that the atmosphere rotates with the sphere.
That's not
right?
correct.
Sorry?
That's not correct.
It's not correct. I was sure they said that the atmosphere rotates with the sphere.
No, that's what the trench level fundies who come up against the problem that we don't see 15 degrees an hour drift. So Globe Earth claims we have 15 degrees an hour drift. That's the non-inertial turning reference frame of Earth demonstrating not actual deflection from that vantage point as things in the separate inertial reference frame. Yeah? As you move beneath those things in a separate reference frame, you get 15 degrees an hour drift. If the two move together, as is asserted by globe trench level fundies, not by the heliocentric rhetoric, then there wouldn't be 15 degrees an hour drift. Now, the globe claim is Coriolis effect, 15 degrees an hour drift, not a lack thereof because the two move together, Brian. That's Globiolus. You know this better than I, and I'm leading into what you're no doubt going down here anyway, but yeah. You know damn well that they're not moving together in the rhetoric. Coriolis deflection is the rhetoric.
Well, see, I was attacking even that rhetoric with what I was going to say, because if right within that rhetoric of the air moving with the surface, within that rhetoric, a plane can still fly from point A to point B. So there is still absolutely no way for it not to be flying over a rotating surface that's moving at 15 degrees an hour. So that rhetoric makes no difference, because the plane is still flying over an Earth that's rotating at 15 degrees an hour, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah, but if you're going to compare it to something that from the ground looks like it's drifting because you're turning underneath it at 15 degrees an hour, i.e. in your example, you're looking up at a plane, and it from the ground, the plane from the ground, looks like it's drifting but isn't, and is only doing that because you're turning beneath it. That's the claim Globe Earth makes. Likewise, Neil deGrasse Tyson's football drifts because when it leaves the ground, Earth continued to rotate beneath it. Or their claim with snipers. You know, you've got to track your target because it's claimed Earth's turning underneath the bullet after it leaves the barrel of the gun. Well, all of those effects are Earth turning beneath an inertial reference frame, not Earth turning an inertial reference frame turning with it, because that makes no sense when you come to actually detailing how you get Coriolis effect. And they definitely do claim that we have Coriolis effect at 15 degrees an hour.
Yes, but we should still see the same Coriolis effect, even with the claim of the air moving with a rotating Earth. Because
well, that claims, okay,
the air
let's
is
just,
moving,
okay,
but the plane...
Okay,
sorry,
let me just deal with that. There's different directions of surface winds. So immediately, even if you're saying, well, that is claimed, okay, fine, but you've got multiple directions of surface winds, Brian. That immediately debunks that.
Oh, I'm not saying that. I'm only speaking about the trench level. I'm not saying that that's the I'm only talking about that particular claim. That doesn't change that we should still see we should still see an apparent deviation with planes and helicopters and things in the sky. Because if a plane is flying from A to B through this rotating air, this rotating atmosphere, because it has to be rotating with the surface of the rotating globe. Then if a plane is flying from London to Berlin or whatever, then it still has to fly through this rotating air that's rotating with the surface, that's all moving at 15 degrees an hour. So we would still, even with that rhetoric, we should still see an apparent drift, but we don't. That's the point.
I know what you're saying. You're saying that if you travel north-south or south-north on a presupposed spherical Earth with Coriolis deviation that's actually described with a hijacking of the tidal Coriolis effect when detailing the conservation of angular momentum, hijacked into the conservation of linear speed changes, then you'll still have the effect, because what that describes, even though it's not the rhetoric and it's definitely not Coriolis effect, it's Globiolus effect. You're saying within the confines of what they describe at trench level as Globiolus effect, you would still see deviation north to south or south to north, because if the atmosphere is moving along with the Earth moving at 15 degrees an hour, you're going to have to fight against that if you're traveling north.
Well, no, I'm actually not. That's a Globiolus claim.
Yeah.
I'm actually not speaking about that. What I'm saying is, even with the claim of the atmosphere moving with the Earth, an airplane flying from, let's say it goes from the UK to the US, that plane still has to fly through this rotating atmosphere. So it makes no difference if they claim that the atmosphere rotates with the Earth, because the plane still has to fly through this rotating atmosphere. So it makes no difference. We should still see the apparent deviation, also known as the effect of Coriolis. But we don't.
I've got you now. I get what you're saying. If it's attached, it's like the plane has suddenly got wheels on the ground, and it's going to have to compensate for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if the air is moving with a rotating surface, if a plane is still flying from point A to point B, from point A to point B, then it's still flying through this rotating air. So we should still see apparent deviation.
Sure. I now understand your point. I'm glad you clarified it, because I cut you off thinking I'd already got it when I hadn't. However, my point still stands. Is it the case that we always see a consistent Earth turn with atmosphere moving at the same rate in the same direction in violation of the first law of thermodynamics as you raise in altitude? Because if you did, I'll agree with you, you would have your effect still manifest. And I see your point. But we've still got multiple directions of surface winds, haven't we?
Oh yeah, there's no way that the air is rotating with a rotating surface. The surface would have to be rotating first. And then you'd have to create magic. Anyway, no, you're 100% right. I'm not going against that, and you're saying.
Yeah, as soon as that claim is made, it's like, well, we've got multiple directions of surface winds. If you're going to assert we've got atmosphere moving with the ground beneath to not give us the effect of Coriolis as is claimed, in other words, they're fighting against their own claim at that stage, then number one, you'd still have the effect because of the reasons you've just detailed, but also, well, it's a first law of thermodynamics violation, because the atmosphere higher up in that circumstance, Brian, has got to increase its velocity as it goes up, right? So because it's got a greater circumference to traverse, it's actually got to go faster than the ground that's travelling beneath it at the same rate. So the higher you go, the greater the circumference, therefore it's got to increase velocity to track at the same rate as the ground below, therefore a first law of thermodynamics violation to even claim it in that manner. But why bother getting to the first law of thermodynamics violation and detailing how the air that you're describing tracking with the ground beneath that's velcroed with it is actually having an increase in velocity, i.e. the first law of thermodynamics? Why bother detailing that? Just say we've got multiple directions of surface winds. Obviously that's not happening.
I want to challenge what Brian just said.
Which bit first? Let's just, before you do, which bit are you specifically challenging, or does that ruin the way you're going to try and weasel this?
No, we'll just have to imagine that a first law of thermodynamics violation is possible. Then then you can create a situation of like a closed system. Like if you're on a train traveling, then that's where their analogies start. It's like, oh, if you're traveling on a train and you throw a baseball backwards and forwards, You
No, that's
don't
okay. That's
notice
cool. We'll go with
anything
that.
different.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Okay.
Do you want to make the rest of it? Go ahead if you want to make the rest of the argument. So you've got an example where you're saying, no, like if you throw a ball back and forth on a train, you're in a closed system with all the air moving in a capsule, and therefore the air relative to the train is static inside it, while the train cuts through the air on the outside. So is that comparable? Is Earth like an enclosed capsule, like a train?
Well, that's what I was saying. If you'll just let me beg the question of a first law of thermodynamics violation, then maybe.
Maybe Earth's a closed system like a train. That's a problem. I thought Earth was an open system, so men can't go to the moon then. Because to have this first law of thermodynamics violation, I'm letting you beg the question of, you've got to have Earth like a train, closed system. Men can't get to the moon then.
It's kind of like it's a open close. Oh man, this is bad.
Go on, use that. Go on, use the oxymoron. Say it's an open closed system. Go on.
Let me try to. Yeah, it is a mostly open system.
It's a binary thing. That's an oxymoron. It's either open or it's closed. You can't be a little bit pregnant. You're either pregnant or you're not. You can't be a little bit married. You can't be a little bit open. You're either open or not.
It's an open container in a closed system.
So closed. So men can't go to the moon then. Closed, contained, sealed, like a train.
For all practical purposes.
Yeah, for all practical purposes, closed, men can't go to the moon. Yeah, this sounds familiar. Let's get to that housekeeping question, although this has turned into a proper discussion on all the different subjects, which is fine. Any evidence you can have gas pressure, the stuff we're all breathing, without a container, as asserted in the heliocentric model?
Well, if you drive your car, there's more air pressure at the front than at the back. I read a Glober say that today.
What did he say?
When you're driving your car, there's more air pressure at the front than at the back because you're driving through air like.
All right. What's the response
Well, that
to that?
makes sense.
What's the response to that, though?
Where'd you get the air in the first place?
Perfect. Like a shotgun blast.
Yep.
Yeah. Where'd you get the gas pressure from in the first place, then, to create this gas pressure differential in the gas that you're describing? Where did that gas pressure come from, given that your paradigm has the sky as an availability of volume for the gas to fill, and we'd never achieve gas pressure for you to give this example? Where'd you get the gas pressure from in the first place?
Yep, it would have to press back in all directions in order to be able to push against gas locally and then create a differential. Because if it was an open system, it wouldn't be there in the first place. And even if it was, it would simply scatter in all directions until it's all gone.
Perfect. Bringing me nicely back to the housekeeping question. Any evidence that we can have gas pressure without a container? Answered, no. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space and we'd all be dead. The sky is not a vacuum. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
You can't see it. If you don't see the sun, is it still there? Huh?
Don't know. It might not be. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it is.
Right.
How can you measure something that's intangible?
Well, there was a gentleman yesterday who said, "Do you know of a light source that's not tangible?"
I'll tell you how. What they'll do. They'll measure its effect and then they'll correlate their just so story. That's what they'll do.
No
what was
distance.
Go on, John.
I was going to say what that guy was going to do was use a sort of equivocation and say all light that we can create has a physical source, and then apply it to the sun, which we can't recreate.
Yeah, but can you touch that? You're touching the bulb, but you're not touching the light.
I'd say you couldn't, like, it would burn you. You could touch the plasma and it burn you.
Sorry, am I missing something? What plasma?
The sun is intangible. Let's leave it at that. Right now, we can't touch it.
Hold on. I heard something. Maybe
Plasma.
I'm going nuts. Did they something about plasma? Did I miss that? Did I imagine that?
That was John, not me.
I know, Neil.
You're going very quiet, John.
Yeah, like within the talking about touching the light, right? Within the bulb, the excited state of the filament.
Sorry, let me get it straight. Are you now giving us an example of actual plasma on the ground so you can? Didn't I just cover this? Maybe I'm just thinking these things and not saying them. So are you about to draw a correlation between what you're now going to describe as plasma and its effects on the ground versus what the sun is now plasma because of that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, that's what the guy yesterday was trying to work into, but he messed up and he called the wrong fallacy from the beginning.
Don't worry about that. I'm just worried about whether or not it's yours or anybody else's. Is there an assertion that it's plasma because here's some plasma correlation, X, Y, Z correlates with A, B, C? Is that what is going on here to say the sun is plasma?
Right. Yeah. That's basically the thought process behind it. I would think, they're looking at it and saying, well, when we create physical light, these things, happen. Or when we create light, these physical effects happen, and so that up there has to be the same thing as what I made in, my garage.
So study the effects of the sun, or the presumed effects of the sun, correlate it with things on the ground, and then assert your just so story after studying the effects of the sun and correlating with them, correlating those effects with things that you can create on the ground. Correct? Correlation isn't causation.
Yeah, but then if you try to assert that it's not that, they'll say it's a special pleading fallacy because you can't demonstrate the undemonstratable.
Well, John, let me ask you this then. Hydrogen plasma is either bright red, deep blue, or purple. Helium plasma is either purple or magenta. Magenta is like a pink or light purple color. Excuse me. Now, if you mix those colors together in any way, shape, or form, can you get yellow and orange?
Have you accounted for Rayleigh scattering?
Rayleigh scattering, no.
Oh, well, there's your problem.
How is it?
Well, according to them, you've got this sun at a massive distance, and when it enters the atmosphere, the oxymoron of air in a sphere shaped, well, some of the light is going to scatter, and some of the light isn't going to scatter. Well, the light that's passed through isn't going to be necessarily the light that you see because of Rayleigh scattering. So you're going to have some of the light rays not actually make it to your eye, and the combination of the ones that remain, because of this effect I'm correlating with my assumption that the sun is a massive distance away from an air sphere, is going to be the reason that you're going to let certain filtered lights through and they're going to mix together and create magenta. I mean, that's true because I made it myself.
Yeah, but see, that's a bit of a problem because NASA show us a big orange and yellow sun from space.
No. Sometimes NASA will put, hues and filters on things because they, from what I understand, sometimes they just want to present it in a manner that people are familiar with. So that it, if they were to show you like a bright purple sun or something, it would freak people out. So they just, they've got a certain amount of artistic license when it comes to these things. For example, if you look at some of the pictures from Hubble of the pillars of creation, they don't really look like that. Much of the light isn't actually in the visible spectrum. So they take the light that's in a different spectrum and say, well, that's orange. And then they give it that with a bit of artistic license. And then you can see it in a bit more, an idea of how it would see if you were, Superman and had a more broad spectrum in your visual acuity.
So are you saying that the sun is purple?
I'm saying that because of an assumption that the sun is a vast distance away from an air sphere, and that air sphere is going to scatter certain light rays and let others through, and the combination of the ones that are let through are going to give us the light that we actually perceive, because of my assumption of a 93 million mile sun and an air sphere and Rayleigh scattering. And I can probably correlate that and show an actual demonstration of how I can achieve Rayleigh scattering and get various different light waves to scatter, absorb, or pass through. And then with a bit of time, I'm sure I could come up with a combination of lights that didn't go through, combined, and form the result that we end up seeing. And now I can say that that is how the sun works. It's just as simple as that, really. Because if I form that correlation and can demonstrate it, and it is applicable with my assumptions of 93 million mile suns and air spheres, then basically that validates the model.
So you can support that the sun is purple, or maybe bright red, or dark deep blue, or magenta.
In the heliocentric model, yes, you can.
I was about to say, I can have that sun be any colour. Right, if I want that sun to be black, it can be. What do you know? They actually call it a black body, don't they? Well, I mean, it's merely semantics, isn't it now? It can be anything I like in the model, Brian. Anything I like. You want it to be purple? You got it, my friend.
Yeah, but see, that's a bit of a problem because plasma, you see, hydrogen and helium plasma only come in certain colours, and they only give off a certain spectrum of light. So,
yeah,
I don't see how you're going to get orange and yellow.
It's like you totally ignored my bullshit that I made up on the spot.
I ignored every bit of it.
No, you did. You ignored every bit of it. I said, yeah, they only give off certain frequencies, but when you combine those and add in the effects of Rayleigh scattering, you know, a little bit of just so story, a just so stir of bullshit, and then with the mixture of those light rays combining to form the colour, like it's a palette of colour I'm mixing up with a paintbrush. I can do that in the model, Brian. I've told you. Anything is possible in the model.
Yeah, but we would have seen that from the footage from space.
No, you're not going to see that. That's when you're detailing things that are in perspective reality view. And I'm talking about conceptually, if you were to see these light rays side on coming in through and scattering, diffusing, and then letting some of the light rays through to mix to form what we actually see, then you'd understand. But obviously you can't achieve that view. You've got to understand that you're only going to see the end result. And the end result is the colour that we actually see the sun. That doesn't mean it isn't purple. I mean, can you actually prove that it isn't from your perspective? No, you can't. But I can detail precisely why it is purple if required to do so.
Okay, could you support any of that?
Yeah, I just
with
did.
Official documentation?
You just ignored me. It's an outrage. You want me to go through it again? No problem. Side on, you can see a conceptualization of light as a ray, a wave, and those waves interacting in such a fashion upon diffusion through the atmosphere, the air sphere, to have this effect called Rayleigh scattering. Some of the light rays that pass through will combine to form a perceived colour that we actually get. That's all you're going to get. You can only see what you can see. But my description in side view will show that the combination of those, one of them could be purple. In fact, it is, because it's plasma. And if that's the objection that you've got here, that plasma, the claimed substance of the second law of thermodynamics violation, sun gas burning in a vacuum, isn't the right colour that we see, then I can work around that in the model without a problem. Now, if you're saying show me in reality, well, that's a different story. We can only see what we actually see. And the fact that it doesn't match what is, you know, somehow comparable by correlation doesn't mean it's not true in the model. It is true in the model. I made it up myself.
Well, that's funny because this all started with a French guy who done some stellar spectroscopy and claimed that there was a yellow streak on the sun, and that was helium, and helium was yellow from then on, except for helium isn't yellow.
No, it is in his model. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what you're referring to, and that particular reference to yellow, while he says yellow, he didn't realise at the time he wrote that I would be making up this side profile view with light as a wave mixing to. He didn't know what he didn't know, Brian. He couldn't have known I was going to make up this just so story. But if he did, he'd have known that when he said yellow, it was exactly the same as me making up that the perceived light isn't the light we get because of Rayleigh scattering and 93 million mile suns when seen in side profile with the light reified into waves mixing together to form this colour that we actually see. He couldn't have known that, Brian. So just because he said yellow, it's because he saw what he actually saw and he's going to base it on that. And because he knows already, because it's part of the rhetoric at that stage, that the sun is helium, then the sun's helium is yellow for him, only because that's what he sees. And he knows it's helium because someone else made that up themselves. And he knew that. He just didn't know that my explanation was going to be imposed over the top of everyone else's hereafter because I made it up myself right now. He didn't know that, Brian, so you can't hold him to task on that.
So you're saying that if I see a flashlight across 4 fields, it will look the color that it is. But if I see it across 8 fields, then it will look a different color.
No, that's a false equivalence. So, no, when I said that we were in an orthographic view seeing the reified light as waves mixing by way of Rayleigh scattering, number one, your torch isn't 93 million miles away. I've got a special pleading fallacy here, and I've got a sun that you can't experience in the way I describe it from the vantage point I'm giving you. So, don't just move away from my special pleading fallacy in this regard, Brian. That is part of my argument after all.
Well, I'm going to need some backup for some of this because I can't just accept a man's words.
Being a baller is so much fun because you can just make up any old crap you like.
Yeah.
Who did a mic check? We heard you, whoever that was.
It was solar. I just
solar.
wanted to say that with indoor growing gardens, they use a blue light spectrum or a red light spectrum. And the new LED globes come out with a purple light, blending the red and blue spectrum. And it's fascinating to see the growth that is generated with a purple light. So Brian maybe wasn't so off the mark there.
See? That correlates with my completely made up nonsense. See, Brian?
Not at all. Because there's not going to be yellow and orange come out of that bulb.
There is. How many times? Do I need to bring up the diagram? Inside view, you will see exactly what I'm describing, right? So I've got it on screen now. So when you're looking at the side of the Earth from about 500 million miles away, you can then see that these light, you're seeing a yellow sun in reality and light diverging. But when I put it in this view, and then if I added little squiggles to these lines, right, then they'd become little waves that I could mix after they go through the air sphere by way of Rayleigh scattering, and have them come through at whatever frequency I determine mathematically is the correct one to give us yellow, based on the origin of them being the colour that is the gas that I said it was in the first place. I can definitely do that, Brian.
And I don't think he's accounted. Hold on a second. He's not accounted for the inertial movement either. So we're going to get some redshift within this.
I couldn't agree more. Within this heliocentric made-up nonsense that I've come up with, there's definitely going to be some sort of shifting if the mathematics don't quite line up in terms of the frequency I'm going to reify by way of light waves. So, yeah, I mean, that's very useful to know that I've got some mass out room in that regard, John. You're a very useful member of the Globe debate team.
Well, we should be seeing redshift and blue shift daily with the sun, should we not?
We do.
We do.
You've not seen that? CMB. You just need Hubble. Have you not seen the pictures from Hubble? We've seen all the way back to the future, my friend.
And sunrise and sunset is always red, and then midday is always blue.
Exactly. Side on, it's always blue. This guy's getting it.
I think I'll have to trust what I see.
Why? You can't trust what you see, Brian. You've got to trust the reified model inside view. What's your problem? Heliocentrism is believed by everybody. Are you thick?
It's that orthographic view that Nathan's talking about that they use for the Big Bang as well. And then you put a couple of dotted lines, and between this zone, that's when the material coalesced and formed the balls. So then with his side view version, at the last bit when it gets to the Earth, that's when it turns yellow.
Now we're getting it.
All good, but what's the distance? Any evidence for the distance?
Distance 93 million miles inside profile when using R that's assumed, debunked by the Black Swan, imposing that R onto Venus by way of an assumption that it's also a physical sphere in a sky vacuum, and then using Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion to derive all the scaling values to give us the distance at 93 million miles for the Sun. God, don't you know how to assume Venus is the same size as a presupposed spherical Earth? What is your malfunction?
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So if it's 93 million miles away, is light going to come in parallel, or will it come in for funny angles?
No, it's going to come in parallel. I've got a picture on screen for my audience now. If you look at it,
okay. Well, I got video and pictures coming in funny angles, corpuscular rays. So it can't be 93 million miles then.
No. That's just from your vantage point on the ground. You're never going to achieve.
No, I got one from an airplane.
No, is the aeroplane seeing the side of Earth in orthographic representation with you at approximately 500 million miles away, or whatever I need for this picture to make sense scale-wise? I don't think so. You're never going to achieve orthographic view where I'm making up this nonsense from. So you saying that you see it in perspective view with divergent light rays doesn't mean anything, because you're not seeing it from the reified 90-degree side-on perspective that I'm giving you that doesn't have perspective. So
no, I agree with you 100%. Your view is not reality. Mine is.
It is
But
reality.
don't they have that view?
I know how to rumpus too. It is reality. It's just a reality that you can't achieve any confirmation of. Now, I say this is reality based on the way it's represented. Just because you can't get 500 million miles away from Earth and see it inside profile when it's assumed to be a sphere with light coming in parallel, as it does, it shows it here.
Well, I'm glad you.
Hold on, Nathan. Nathan.
Gee, thanks, Neil.
Hey, go ahead.
They know I feel 10th.
Thanks, Neil.
Yeah,
White
thanks,
knighting,
Neil. Now I'm going to latch on to
knighting.
Neil and see if he's got a question rather than letting 10th man get to any sort of rebuttal.
No, I'm gonna let.
What was that,
I'm gonna
Neil?
let Neil
Don't interrupt Neil. Don't
All I
interrupt Neil,
wanted to
10th.
say is I don't like Nathan as a baller.
Could be damn straight I'd be the best baller you ever knew.
Well, Nathan the baller, you have a problem here. It's called the Black Swan.
What about it? It's no problem.
Well,
Extreme refraction.
no. Well, then welcome to Flat Earth.
What you were talking about, I gave you a rebuttal immediately without hesitation. Extreme refraction in the Black Swan.
Well, yes, thank you very much. So then you just joined the Flat Earth group by saying that. Because if you can't see it and can't measure it, you have a problem.
Can't see what and measure what? We do see at the horizon.
The horizon.
It's there, just look out your window.
That blocks the bottoms of boats and buildings.
Yeah, it does. You can measure it. We've got Earth curve calculators for that.
Well, how can you measure it with refraction? How can you do it with a bendy light? You need a straight tangent to do it.
R-based.
Is perspective in that Earth curve calculator?
Oh, I'm
No,
so glad
but
everyone's jumping
there's too many
in.
questions coming my way. You're just rumpusing me. So, what do you want to answer first? Personally, I think that you should be possibly citing something that I've talked about earlier that really is my citation. You should be putting that up on screen right now. Give me a bit of time to think. What's the first question?
Yeah, with your refraction, everything is bending, so you can't get a tangent. So, welcome to Flat Earth.
No, just
And you need
because
a straight line
that's
for a
not.
tangent.
Hold on, let me respond. No, the line that is bent to the non-geometric horizon, that point where the horizon is with the bent line, is still a tangent point.
Is it a straight line?
No, it's a bent line to it. But the point that it's
Well, then
meeting is still a tangent
you don't have a
point.
tangent, and you can't measure it.
It doesn't mean that the point that the bent line's meeting isn't still a tangent point.
We're not talking about how'd you get the point without the straight tangent line.
I don't need the straight line.
Yes, you do. If
No,
you
I
want to do
don't.
geometry.
No, I don't. Don't you understand that a tangent isn't a straight line? You don't need it.
Well, not in geometry. In geometry, it is a straight line.
You don't know anything about geometry. You're an idiot. Also, I beat you in debate several weeks ago.
Just like Rumpus, wow.
Any evidence yet of that?
Sorry,
point?
are we just moving away? You're not listening to my rebuttal. That was very concise. I beat 10th, and now all he can do is move away from my win here.
Scaredy cats.
Not at all.
Where is that tangent being brought to?
Don't need a tangent. You just need a tangent point, which is where the curved line meets that point H.
Meets what?
It meets
Meets
the
what?
curve.
What
Did
is
anyone-
it touching? Where is the tangent being brought to?
Tangent
Meets
point.
what?
Tangent point.
Meets what?
I don't, Brian, I want to talk to you now because he's easier than Brian, you mean tangent point? Tangent point.
Yeah,
No,
where are you bringing the tangent to? You're bringing the tangent from a point A to point B. Point A is you. Where's point B?
Point B is the observer point. And
I
point
can
A
come
is
in here.
the point that it meets at a curved line. That can meet at a tangent point. That curved line can meet a tangent point, Brian.
And where is this curved line on Earth?
Well, that's just the way you see things. Things are refracted with an R value at a standard rate that I'll massage however I need to in this argument.
Well, if it's
Yeah,
refracted,
but
then
where
you
are you bringing? I don't see this curved line. Where are you bringing this tangent? Your point A of the tangent. You're bringing point B to somewhere. Where is the point B? What's point B touching?
Tangent point. It's meeting the tangent point. The end, the
How'd you
horizon,
get there?
is the tangent point. You keep getting it
Yeah,
wrong.
how'd you
Brian.
get there?
Is the point? What is the point in reality? What is the name of that point? What is it called?
It's called the horizon.
Not in geometry.
It's called the horizon.
The optical,
reality-
not
I
Is
can
the
help you.
horizon?
I can
Is the
help you.
horizon then a physical
I can help.
geometric location?
You let me interject.
No, you're all right. Brian's doing pretty well. He's almost got me on the ropes. I keep telling you, it's not a tangent. It's a tangent point. And where the curved line meets that tangent point, you can have curves meeting tangent points, Brian. You're not aware?
So yeah, is the horizon a physical geometric location? Please answer the question.
Yes, it is. And no, it isn't.
That's hard to beat.
No, you're just an idiot.
Oh,
No,
he
you're
beat
just an idiot.
himself.
And I beat you in debate recently as well. So,
he beat
no.
himself.
Can
I was very
can
clear.
I just add a point, please? As a baller,
No,
can I
vacuum.
add
You
a
don't
point?
even know how sun rays work. Stay out of this.
Yeah, please.
Actually, no, I don't think so. Yes, go ahead, Vacuum. And now that's me taking advantage of being a host now, isn't it? I could just give him permission to save
That's
me.
why you better stop yelling at Vacuum.
Save me, Vacuum,
It's
save
taking
me.
you off the
I'd like
path.
to interject.
Why
I think
can
Vacuum's got a
I
perfect
yell,
right to
Vacuum?
interject here and save me.
I think I can help. I think I can help, Nathan.
Because
It is,
all of this, that's from a flat Earth perspective, isn't it?
What is?
This is just one big campfire circle jerk, isn't it?
it's your argument, dude.
Yeah, having me on.
I'm just articulating it.
I've just spent the
It's
last
pathetic,
20
isn't
minutes
it?
articulating the globe argument, and he thinks we're participating in a flat Earth circle jerk. My God, you can't even cope with the fact that I've now flipped positions and I'm arguing from a globe perspective, but you think this is a flat Earth circle jerk. On the contrary, I'm playing a globe head, you complete clown. Can't you keep up? How thick are you?
I'll tell you
You're
what,
all
you had
la-
me wobbling there for a bit, Nathan. I was nearly
Very
back on the ball.
adorable. Gotta give it to you
Got to
all.
convince him.
But what's
No, but-
amazing is Vacuum could hear it, and that's their side, and he wants to argue with it.
I was cringing at one point about 5 minutes ago where you were all laughing and joking. Oh, it was bad.
We do it all day long.
I know you do. That's why I only join on Fridays when I can.
No, we do it all day long because this is what we observe from your side is these silly campfire circle jerk arguments. And now you observe it, your own arguments, and you're laughing at it. Welcome to Flat Earth.
You belong in Gem Pandas.
Anyway, should we do a few more housekeeping questions? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
Absolutely not.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
The bending of space-time
What
cannot
is
produce
gravity?
Neil was just detailing. Go ahead, Neil.
I was saying the bending of space-time cannot produce anything.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not today.
No. And you can't bend the concept either.
Last but by no means least, any evidence of the R value, that's Earth radius.
No. Black Swan.
Killed it.
Have you seen
Okay.
Have you seen Dr. Zach's video from this week? He hasn't
No.
posted in about 2 years, and he describes how they took the flat horizontal plane and the diverging light rays, and they curved the flat plane until the radius to generate parallel sun rays. And he does it through a little demonstration showing how the light rays on a flat earth sort of expand outwards at the bottom like a triangle shape, and then as you curve the surface of the base to be a sphere, all the lines then become parallel. And that's how they got to the 3959, because it was actually required to get it to the point where those lines are then parallel but still converging at some point in the distance.
Perfect. Shout out to Dr. Zach. I love his stuff. Like you say, he's had a bit of a hiatus, and nice to see that he's talking about the radius value and
he a
the
real
necessity
doctor?
mathematically for it to be 3959. That I didn't know. I suspected, but it takes someone like Zach to actually do the maths and show how that actually works. Why is it set in stone at 3959? Well, because if you take the sun and its divergent rays and you plot them into the spherical map to get them parallel, you've got to end up with that figure. Kudos, Zach. I'll check that video out.
Precisely. Yeah,
That's epic.
really
Kudos
good.
to Zach.
Posted the link, Nathan, for you. So it's in the YouTube chat for anyone to see.
Perfect
Thank you, Adam.
segue for Vacuum and me. Nathan, I got slides up after that airplane video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 slides. Master B.
Got 6 slides, starting with the one with globe Earth and flat Earth.
Yeah, Eratosthenes model versus sun rays diverging on the plane. Can you see this vacuum? It was similar to the one that you saw earlier. Can you see it, vacuum?
No, I don't go on YouTube.
Oh, that's going to be a shame. Well, you might have to.
Not too bad.
If you can
Well, I'll
present
do
it
it for
anyway.
the audience, and please don't pipe in since you can't see it. See, to get a shadow.
Well, I
On the
thought you were
ball.
meant to be educating.
Well, you can't see it, so why would I try to educate
Carry
you if
on,
you can't
10th
see
man.
it?
Just carry on.
Yeah. Well, the shadow, if the sun rays come in parallel, the shadow is due to an arc surface. The only way. That's Aristotle's mistake. Because we see in reality funny angles, corpuscular rays from the sun, and as it drifts 15 degrees an hour, its angle to a tree, a post, anything, will cast a longer shadow because it's going away from it. And that's how shadows work. Next slide. As you can see, their model has sunlight coming in parallel. And then there's Cyan and Alexandria, B and A, and they have to go to the center of the Earth because the only place you can get an angle on a sphere is from the radius, from the center. And the sun rays have to come in parallel for it to work at the surface. But it's not the way life works, or the sun. Next slide. A little bit more detailed. Well, at Cyan, column at Alexandria, sun rays coming in parallel, which they don't in reality. And there's the shadow at the column in Alexandria, 7.2 degrees, measured from the center of the Earth, which nobody's there observing anything ever. But that's the only place on the sphere you could form an angle. You can't do it off an arc surface because it takes 2 straight lines to form a corner or vertex to get an angle. Next slide. This is a beauty. They got the sun so far away, and there's Earth. And we have one parallel ray hitting Earth. But all the other depictions show a bunch of parallel rays. Well, which one is it? Next slide. Oops, they have this with a bunch of parallel rays. How is that possible if it's so far away? Only one beam should be hitting us to form that angle. Next slide. Uh-oh, except when it comes to an eclipse, the sun's converging rays now. It can't decide if it wants to be parallel or converging. Bye-bye, globe.
Perfect. I was a bit out of order with the slides for some reason, but other than that, great. Yeah, good presentation.
It sounded amazing.
We just mentioned Dr. Zach there, and he's one that agrees with me on it. The Aristophanes stuff, you can have all that. The issue I've always had with that is it's never described how they translate local time from one town to the other. So how did they know it was midday at the other place, at one town, so that they could measure the angle you were just discussing? That's the issue. Did they have mobiles, and when it was midday in Cyan, ring up the other bloke and say, check your angle now?
I think they had
How
mobiles.
to translate local time in ancient times?
Well, in all seriousness, I think the technology at the time was actually cup and string. So did they not just have a really, really, really long cup and string arrangement?
2 yogurt pots.
Yeah, you got it.
How would
Adam,
you do it? How would you, if you didn't have mobile?
I saw
how
a
would
video,
you link up?
Adam, where the guy said he lit a fire and sent a smoke signal.
That's why I always question that.
Wouldn't that be hidden by the curvature of the Earth?
That's what I thought.
Adam, I've got a question for you. You're an intelligent guy, and I'm not taking the piss there. How would you link up with someone else if you didn't have mobiles or any other communication technology? How would you solve that problem as an
I
intelligent
don't know.
person?
That's what I say is the quandary, isn't it? And it's such a big quandary within this claim, and so key to it that you think it would be one of the boasting points of how they ensured the accuracy of it by translating that time exactly.
Well,
That's how you know it's baloney.
But it's not for me to solve, is it? How would you solve it?
Well, I think what they did is they used the equinox. And they had 2 people in both locations. You're talking about the Aristophanes, is it? Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they used the equinox. They had 2 people. You had people in both locations, and they obviously met up afterwards.
No, that would require them to know that they're both on the same line first, which would require the presumption.
Well, I know that, let's just say the likes of Kepler and Brahe got their astronomy knowledge from astrology. So where all that came from originally, I don't know. And so I haven't really, other than using the equinox, I have no idea how they could have communicated all that to each other.
You're talking second arc differences, aren't you, to be accurate here? So it's crucial that you've got that accuracy. So it's crucial that you take your reading in town 2 at exactly midday at town 1, isn't it? That's how it works to the arc second to be able to then derive your mathematics to presuppose your ball, or flat, it doesn't matter, yeah? But you've got to be that accurate. So that's the point I'm saying. How are you that accurate? If you're a minute later, how much difference does that make in your calculations?
There's the problem. There you go. So in the calculations, if the calculations are predetermined, then effectively you've only got to vaguely match this story to the predetermined mathematics anyway, Adam. It's the other way round. You know, you're assuming incorrectly that the story of this is the thing that actually gave them the numbers. Not at all. It's just a story that goes alongside the numbers.
But for them to be able to generate the numbers, that's what I'm saying. The most crucial thing is the translation of local time from one place to the other.
Wrong.
Because that's the thing you've got to translate if you were going to claim that you calculated this from observation.
Damn, you dropped it in. You gave the disclaimer, which ruins my point. Yeah, correct.
Hey, would someone with Google Earth go in and see what the distance is from Cyan to Alexandria?
Look, you don't get lost in the details, Tenth.
Did those places still exist? Both places. I think Alexandria, is that still existing? Or is that gone?
It will still be there physically, but in terms of what it's named, it's arbitrary anyway. But yeah, I'm pretty certain that the point that they're sorting out on the map hasn't suddenly vanished into non-existence, Brian.
No, because that does happen. Some places that did exist just disappear. You know, sometimes that happens.
What, you like wake up one day and Ireland's gone? I don't think so.
Well, maybe not Ireland, but like that has happened. Like where there's been like towns and things that just disappeared. Because there was people just stopped living there.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
not
but
what I mean.
Adam's point is very.
But that's arbitrary, isn't it? The land that the town was on is still there.
That's in there.
Right.
Adam's point is very important because the minute you're in Cyan and you take that reading, the guy in Alexandria at that same second has to measure the shadow. And how was that ever communicated?
But Eratosthenes wasn't accurate, was he? He wasn't 100% accurate.
Exactly. It's not, number one, it's not 100% accurate. And number two, you're creating a story to go with the predetermined maths. So it's just going to roughly fit. Now, if you're saying he's got to be super accurate to actually do this as something that you could use to derive something else, then you're under the misapprehension of the Just So story that that's what they're actually doing, as Adam then disclaimed it. In reality, it's just a story to go alongside some predetermined maths.
I agree.
It's attributed to him. I think millennia later, it's a claim that's attributed to him. Historically, as far as I'm aware, the only Aristophanes you find is the librarian in Alexander, and other things are attributed to him as well, but not that specific. He doesn't specifically make the claim himself. It's attributed to him posthumously.
Yeah, I think they made it all up. Absolutely.
I think I got the answer to this one.
I agree with that.
Go ahead, John.
Well, if you know that you're on a ball and you measure on the equinox at noon, then the sun will be 90 degrees overhead, and it doesn't matter how far off the line you are because the Earth's turning to match that line.
That's three assumptions in that statement.
But that's how it works.
No, that's how you assume three things. And tell us.
Nah, the guy never existed.
That funnily enough match up.
Again, vacuum.
I mean, it's all very neat, isn't it?
Exactly. You can do that when you've started with the result
it's a
you
bit
need.
too neat, isn't it?
Yeah, neatly fits around the numbers that they need.
Like, the way things work is a bit too neat. That's what you're saying.
They don't work.
Yeah,
Like it was backward mathematics, isn't it? All those assumptions they made were just
so... It's very neat, isn't it? It's just ridiculous, your argument.
He did get the right time and all this, and we can't have him getting it exactly to today's figures because that would just be ridiculous. So we'll kick him 2 or 3% out, a bit like they did with Uncle Bobby. Yeah, it is farcical when you listen to the tale, and that's the main validation for the religion. It is. You're right. It is just laughable, really.
It's far too neat.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Neil deGrasse Tyson also said that they had to have assumed the globe, right? Because even he said that Eratosthenes' so-called experiment could work on a plane as well. So blah blah.
With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, or joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
By historical standard or by like what do you mean?
Show me something. Give me something.
Well, even if he
I look it up,
existed,
and it's the same story.
even if he existed, they can still ascribe a just so story to him.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying, go look up some stuff.
Hey, Nathan, are you there? I've got a couple of things just on this topic.
Yeah.
Okay, don't go to the alternative model first, but go to the other two slides first, and then we'll end up with the alternative model. Let me know when you're ready.
The one I'm starting with is Aristophanes analyzed. Is that the one that you want
Yes.
to start? Yeah. Okay,
Yes. So Aristophanes analyzed the observations with the assumption, get it? Assumption that the Earth is a sphere and the sun is very far away. So two assumptions: Earth is a sphere and the sun is far away. The geometry of the situation, well, here comes that geometry, you need it, is sketched at the right. He concluded that the circumference of the Earth was about 50 times greater than the distance from Alexandria to Aswan. His results and modern results agree with in about 10%. Next slide. Because the sun is assumed, another assumption, to be very far away, we believe that light rays which reach us from the sun are all going in the same direction. Except in reality, we see funny angles in corpuscular rays. They are parallel, except in reality. This assertion can be tested by observing a beam of light from the sun which passes through a 1 millimeter hole in a large piece of cardboard. How about just open your eyes and see corpuscular rays and realize it's not happening? In the figure, a vertical stick at a point A would cast no shadow. A stick at B would cast a moderate shadow, and a stick at C would cast a very long shadow. In Eratosthenes' experiment, which it wasn't, would correspond to the well in Aswan on the day of summer equinox, and Alexandria would be located somewhere between A and B. Now let's go to the other one that I have, the alternative model. And this is all in the same article at the site. Eratosthenes' model depends on the assumption that the sun is far away and therefore produces parallel rays of light all over the Earth. If the sun is nearby, then shadows will change length even for a flat Earth. A flat Earth model is sketched at the right. The vertical stick casts shadows that grow longer as the stick moves to the left away from the closest point to the sun. The sun is at height h above the Earth. A little trigonometry shows that. It's interesting that this came off of a ball site, and they're saying how it works on a flat plane if the sun is closer and it isn't sending parallel rays, but it's moving. And my whole point with vacuum earlier is that in their model, the shadow is because of the arc or curvature of the Earth, which is silly. Totally silly, because we know as light moves away, the angle hits that stick or tree and casts the shadow.
Perfect. Who knew so many arguments would hold or hang on the light that we actually see being nothing like their orthographic representation that they've used to bend the light parallel, as strange as that sounds, to give them a circumference value. Reason why they can't change that value.
This is the worst argument yet, I think.
Can you tell us what the argument is, and then tell us why it's terrible?
The crepuscular ray one.
Yeah. Can you tell us what the argument is, and then explain why it's terrible, please?
I'm not too au fait with it yet.
You mean you haven't got the slightest idea what the argument even is, or how therefore it could be terrible?
That's just a suspicion I have.
You suspect it's a terrible argument even though you don't even know what the argument is? You suspect this argument you don't understand or know is terrible? You suspect that, do you? You idiot.
Yeah.
You clown. You moron.
Yeah,
You
I mean,
thicko,
I've poked
you
a few holes in it
stupid boy,
already.
You complete fool. Sit down. Shut up. Can't even parrot the argument back, but you think it's a bad argument. Nobody cares. You're thick. You understand that? All I had to do was ask you what the argument was, and you couldn't even repeat it. That's how thick you are. An argument you can't even repeat you think is bad? How would you know? You don't, you're thick.
Well, you've not been able to convince me yet.
I couldn't give a crap what you're convinced of. You don't even understand the argument. You can't repeat it back. That's a lack of comprehension skills, my friend. That demonstrates how stupid you are. How little ability you have to actually comprehend what's been explained, because you can't parrot it back. But somehow that's my failings, is it? Your comprehension level is my fault, is it?
So are you saying that?
So I'm saying my ability to detail an argument that you can't comprehend isn't attributable to me when it comes to your comprehension of it. That is down to you being thick. You get it, thicko? You're just stupid. And because your stupidity doesn't allow you to even understand the argument enough to parrot it back, your stupidity also says, I suspect my dumbass doesn't understand this argument, but it's probably bad. How thick are you? You're a total embarrassment.
No, if the first time you've heard an argument, you think this is a bad argument because I'm...
What is the argument, you dumb shit? Tell me what the argument you've just heard is.
That I can't repeat it back, you absolute
I know you can't, you thick shit! You suspect the argument you can't even repeat back is bad? You can't even repeat it! You haven't even got listening skills, let alone comprehension skills. You're thick! Yeah? But you want to tell me about your mystic meg suspicion that this argument you can't repeat is bad? My God! Dunning-Kruger to the extreme! Sit down, sunshine. You don't know what you don't know, so you don't know if it's bad or not. Clear? Sit down, shut up, know how dumb you are, like all globe believers. You hear a flat earther talking about your arguments, and your instinct says this is probably bad, even when I'm playing a globe head giving your arguments. You seem to think that it's suspect and bad, and that you need to interrupt while I point out that you telling my audience that me playing a globe head to the point where my own panel say, oh wow, that was good, I almost became a globe earther. Your response is to tell me you thought it was a bad argument. In other words, you're telling my audience how bad globe arguments are, but because you're so thick, you didn't realise it was globe arguments. You just heard me saying them and automatically assumed they were bad. In this instance, you don't even know what's being argued about, but your thick brain still says it's bad. Why? Because I'm saying it.
My Sainsbury's delivery is here.
Excellent.
Bye.
Something you can cope with mentally. Yes, you go and focus on taking groceries off a man at the door. That's about your level of comprehension skills. I'm probably going to bet on you fucking that up as well. Do you want some advice on how to open the door? Idiot. People are literally beyond stupid.
He's not convinced. Sorry, go on, Dave.
This Aristophanes guy, I'm just looking up some stuff. He sounds like he's a madman. I mean, they say he died of starvation that he did himself. It was voluntary starvation.
There weren't groceries at the door for him.
I mean, come on here. And this is the size of the earth is because of this guy?
I think the starvation was
voluntarily starved himself? Holy
no,
shit.
It was only semi-self-induced, because what had actually happened is he got the information together and then he put it behind a paywall, and everyone said, nah, man, this should be free.
That was the funniest thing I mean, that was, wow, vacuum. Unbelievable. That segment's got to be cut out. Hey, can I finish up with a few more slides? Start with the one with the celestial horizon with the airplane and
finish up what?
I have a few more slides of Master B.
Master B slides. Okay, yeah. So starting with the one that's got a picture of an airplane. Hold on, Neil. Hello, admin. Hello. So we're starting with the one that says celestial horizon, and then it's got sort of horizontal lines and then dissecting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so this is why they need parallel rays. So you see those rays coming in, that's the sun rays, have to be parallel because it's got to be measured from the center to have all those angles be the same. So a person at the center has the same angle as a person on the surface of the Earth and would also have the same angle as an airplane using a bubble sextant in the sky as well. So this is the whole reason for the parallel rays, because the only place on the sphere you can get an angle is from the center. Next. But here's a slide from a Navy site I went to, and they're getting this sextant reading off sea level. And the dip correction, which is highly important, is dip correction accounts for height above sea level, because you got to get at zero to be at the level of the water to get the angle. See, you need an angle from the surface. Next one shows a cartoon figure of a captain using a sextant, and it says horizon, which is level, horizontal, and then the sun, finding local noon with a sextant. So that sun is somewhere over the Earth, and this captain is somewhere away. Next slide. We'll call that the circle of equal altitude. So that captain is somewhere on that circle, and no matter how he shoots that sun, anywhere on that circle, it's going to give him a 50-degree reading away from the sun's GP, geographical position, its highest point that day, its zenith. So he knows he's 50 degrees away from it. Anywhere from that circle, it has to be flat. That could be thousands of miles. Next slide. He does that 3 times with 3 different luminaries, and the circles cross each other, and where they all cross is where he's at on that circle. But look at the geometry being used here. You see that 90-degree symbol at the center of each of those circles? That's where the GP of that star is. Anything from that to the edge of a circle has to be flat. Next slide. This is great. This slide shows 3,000 nautical miles have to be flat. Impossible for it not to. Just digest that for a minute. Next slide. Astrolabe, sextant, doesn't matter. You need a flat surface and an angle to a star. And that's how you get an angle. Can only be done with 2 straight lines. Next slide. Just like a stick that casts a shadow because the sun is moving away on the flat plane. Bye-bye, globe. Sun's rays do not come parallel. It's over because the sun killed you.
Excellent. You're getting better and better at these presentations. They're getting more and more slick. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not convinced.
Sexton, baby.
Then again, I don't know much about the argument.
Nice, Brian.
Thought vacuum left.
If I say it with confidence, it'll sound like I know what I'm talking about. That's what always happens with ballers. They speak with confidence. But then when they're pulled on it, they don't know what they're talking about.
I mean, to be fair to him, he's right. Aristophanes isn't a good argument because fundamentally it pulls them back, doesn't it, to a physical geometric Earth curve. That's what they're calculating in there. That it's that angle generated by the physical edge that's bending. So fine, accept it. Now demonstrate it. Oh, black swan. Those angles, sticks across the black swan, should be bending, shouldn't they? They should be bending away from each other to give you the different shadow angles.
Well, I think it's absolutely. I think it's absolutely unbelievable that they were able to make people believe that sun rays were parallel when people are looking at sun rays being diverging all the time. It's unbelievable that people actually believe they're parallel when it's completely obvious when you see sun rays that they're all coming up to meet at a point just somewhere somewhere up in the sky, not that high up.
Yeah, it's obvious to us now that we're flat earthers.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go back to older times when there wasn't the internet and we didn't have all these diagrams that could be easily created and shown to people, then people wouldn't have even had diagrams to look at. So it's like the sun rays are parallel, but I'm looking at the rays of the sun not being parallel, being anything but parallel. But yet, I mean, if you look at the angles of these rays, it's obvious it would be impossible. It's not even feasible. You couldn't even imagine them being parallel because they're so not parallel. But yet, people actually do believe they're parallel. It's phenomenal what you can make people believe.
Makes me more angry at myself every day, please.
So I've got a question, please. Like when the moon is out during the day at quarter phase and you hold a golf ball up next to it, you get the same shadow on the golf ball as is on the moon. How does that work if the lights are not parallel?
Correlation, then.
Well, you're pre-assuming that the sun is shining onto the moon.
Not only that,
Yeah,
but with his own eyes.
It is correlated. It is a correlation, but that doesn't answer my question.
Well,
you see the video?
Hang on 1 second. Could you support what you just said there? You said if you hold up a golf ball, you see the same shadow on it as you do on the moon. That is in front of the sun. If you hold a golf ball up in front of the sun, while the moon is has a quarter lit. Is that what you said?
Well, if the moon's even only 3,000 miles away, that shouldn't happen if the sun is close and the light rays are.
I'm asking you about what you said. You said if you hold a golf ball up, a certain thing would happen at the same exact time as a certain other thing is happening on the moon. Could you clarify that? What you said again, please?
You simply hold the golf ball up next to the moon that's out in the daytime, and it will produce the same terminator line, the same phase on the golf ball as is on the moon.
It's not true. It's not true at all.
I don't
I've
know.
done it.
It is true. I've done it.
I've done it. You're just seeing a certain phase of the moon. But when the sun's just peeking above my horizon at sunrise, and the moon is out, and I see the light on the moon, that if you guys say is the sun's light, which I don't believe, I hold a ball, and part of my ball that's lit by the sun that's just gone above my horizon from the east is lit differently than the moon. So you're just catching a time where the phase matches of the moonlight.
I can hold a golf ball up and in the day, and I can demonstrate by rotating the golf ball around me in relation to the sun. Sun's not moving, but I'll just move the golf ball in a circle around me, and I'll demonstrate every single phase of the moon there. And you can do it at night with a torch, and you can do the same thing. You can demonstrate every single phase of the moon. Now yes, obviously, when the moon is out, there will be a point you can stand, which would match the heliocentrics model of what's going off in terms of point light source on a sphere. Yeah. So you can get a correlation. Does that mean that the way you and the sun are lined up is the same as the way the moon lined up? And does that mean that the light you're getting from the moon is even a reflection of the sun like you're getting on the golf ball? No.
No one's answered my question, though.
Well, we're attempting to answer it, but you see, you're after speaking about something, and I haven't seen the physical demonstration of it. But what I have seen, and was pointed out to me by Eli, is that the moon can be lit on the west side while the sun is rising on the east. How is that possible? That destroys any claims that you might make in that way.
That's a whole different question. It was a simple question, but I don't.
Yes, but that destroys the pre-assumptions. Is this Howard?
Yeah, Brian, just stick with the claim. The claim was that if you hold a golf ball up, then it will match the phase of the moon. And I think we've just answered, no, it doesn't. It depends. The alignment you're going to get on the golf ball depends on where you are standing in relation to the sun and the golf ball. That's how you'll see the shadow. And you move around, You do, let's say, perfectly well at night with a torch, works a treat, or a marshmallow. If you go to Iron Realm, Zach Zabala does it with a marshmallow. Yeah, and we show all the different phases of the moon by putting yourself, the ball, and the light source in different positions, so rotating around you. Now, that's doable every single day. So, sure, yes, one of those positions will generate a shadow on the golf ball that matches the illumination of the moon. But what you don't get is just hold up the golf ball randomly, wherever you are, whatever the alignment, and that shadow on the golf ball will match the moon that day. That's not true.
Okay, well, I'm attacking
you
it to
can
play
hold a golf
assumptions.
ball
Hold on,
at
Brian.
any
Hold on.
phase.
Hold on.
Any phase of the moon. Go ahead.
You want to repeat your rebuttal again, because you were spoken through at the beginning of it, left lane.
It was, yeah, thanks. It's at any phase of the moon. And I'm not talking about using a torch or going around in circles. And I'm talking about holding a golf ball next to the moon in any phase of the moon during the day. And the shadow on the golf ball will match the moon.
Sorry, my friend. Okay, maybe it's because when they were given their rebuttal the first two times, you spoke through them on both occasions. But you've now had 10th Man detail how that isn't the case at sunset, and Adam explained that you can put yourself into varying positions to match it, but just sticking it up in the air, as you're saying, next to the moon, it won't necessarily match. Depends on the time of day. Pretty much what was alluded to by 10th Man. But you've ignored that and just repeated your claim again, having completely ignored the rebuttal that's been delivered to you twice.
And if he's done this once, he will see that he's incorrect. And that's the beauty of a claim like this, is that it's easily demonstrable.
Yeah, it is easily demonstrable, and I've done it through all phases, all different phases of the moon, and it matches every time.
And what about the times that it doesn't? Hold on, guys. What about the times that have been detailed to you by your two opponents? Don't worry, you've got two opponents, but there we go. They've given you examples where that isn't the case. Why would it be the case that there are periods of the day when it doesn't match? If you just hold a golf ball up at sunset, it doesn't match, mate. Now, I've repeated it, and two other people have repeated it. Do you want to, A, repeat the same claim that obviously we've responded and rebutted it? Or do you want to perhaps acknowledge the rebuttal where there are circumstances that what you've claimed three times, completely ignoring the rebuttal, doesn't occur? Do you want to acknowledge that it doesn't occur always as you're saying it does, and examples have been given where it does not? Maybe acknowledge those, and then we can move forward. Or you could just repeat your claim again for the fourth time.
Well, because I've done these observations, and I know
So it's going to be repeat the claim for the fourth fucking time, you dumb shit. We heard the first three times. I don't need a fourth rendition of the same claim that has been responded to and you have entirely ignored on three separate occasions. One from me, one from 10th Man, one from Adam. You've ignored them all. Why?
Because they're all wrong.
Oh, really? Hand wave dismissal fallacy. So you're just going to hand wave them. Don't talk through me. Shut up while I talk.
Okay. Well, I'm going to
shut up.
I'm not going to talk.
Do you understand?
Thank
Shut
you.
up.
Thank you.
Those two words not compute, you dumb shit. Shut the fuck up, you dumb globe-believing idiot. I'm telling you to shut up so I can point out that a hand wave dismissal, while they're wrong, is a fallacy. You can't just hand wave their argument, having ignored it and repeated your claim three times. So do you want to respond? Don't talk through me, you bloody fundy. Repeating your claim for the fourth time, I was sarcastic when I gave it as an option. Don't repeat your claim for the fourth time. We've heard it and responded to it. We've given you circumstances where it does not match and given you reasons why. They've been repeated three times and ignored. And your response to that is because they're wrong. That's called a hand wave dismissal. You're just going to hand wave the responses then and attempt maybe for a fifth time to repeat your claim again. Well, it does happen. I've done it. Yeah, we heard. Then we gave you examples where it doesn't happen. You're going to talk through me again in the conclusion part. Total asshole. I haven't finished talking. You'll know because there'll be a pause. So don't flap your gums. Listen. You've been told how that doesn't occur and circumstances where and why it won't occur. Don't just repeat that it will.
A hand wave dismissal is to deny.
Don't discuss your fallacy. Discuss the rebuttal. You thick idiot. I don't care about the admin and my detailing of your fallacy. Address what 10th and Adam have put to you.
Can I
Stop funding muting him, Nathan.
can I ask a question real quick?
No, I'm talking to
Hello?
Left Lane. I want Left Lane to address the rebuttals he's received 3 times, hand waved and repeated his claim over and over again like a chanting fundy. I'd like him to actually acknowledge the rebuttals he's had, not just chant his claim over and over again.
I acknowledge the rebuttals, but I disagree with them because I have done these observations.
Oh, so you're going to chant your bloody claim that you've done them. Yeah, we heard that. Now you need to give reasons why you disagree beyond the claim we've heard and responded to. So is your only challenge to their rebuttal to repeat your claim? Obviously, you've done it 5 times.
Well, I don't know what else you want me to say.
A rebuttal! Are you thickos that come here not aware of what a debate is? You present a point. In this instance, both 10th and Adam have clarified they understood your claim. That's next step if you're a reasonable debater. Recognise for your opponent that you actually understand what's being claimed. They've done that. Then they've responded to it. What you've done 5 times is completely ignore them and then just repeated your claim. Now, either you're so fucking stupid that you don't know how a debate works, or what? You're just being a fundy that's chanting the same shit over and over again, like the repetition of the claim's going to be a rebuttal. Are you really this thick?
Not thick. I've just done it, and I know what I'm talking about.
What, you repeat your repetition of the claim you think is a rebuttal, you stupid idiot. Let me be the first to tell you, Left Lane, you stupid idiot, that repeating the claim again isn't a rebuttal. Do you understand?
Well, I guess I would just have to invite anyone to do this and see for themselves.
Oh, so you're going to repeat it for a 6th time that you've done it, and if anybody else copies you with your little correlation, that's going to rebut what they've put back to you? Maybe acknowledge what they've put back to you first, you unreasonable bastard. What did they put back to you when you said it the first time and the 2nd time and the 3rd time and the 4th time and the 5th time and now the 6th time? What was their response? Can you repeat it back to us, you dumb shit?
Yeah, they said something about using a torch and going around in a circle and something about sunrise, but it doesn't matter, sunrise.
Sorry, something about sunrise, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't seem like you've actually listened to their response in the slightest. You can't repeat it back. So you just didn't listen. So like now you talk through what they said and now can't repeat it back. So you've got a hearing problem, a comprehension problem. You literally talk when you should listen. And because you've talked when you should have listened, you can't repeat it back now, can you?
Thanks for your time, lady.
Something like that, it doesn't matter, isn't you repeating it back. It's a demonstration that you talked when you should have listened. Hello, Left Lane, you're going to shut down mentally? You were talking when they were explaining their rebuttal. You talked through them. 3 times it happened for 10th and Adam. So you didn't listen or hear it. You talked through it. And then when I ask you to repeat it back, you say something about torches, something about the horizon. It doesn't matter. In other words, you're thick as shit, incapable of even listening to the response. Because why? You're not going to respond to it. You're not going to provide a rebuttal to it. You're not going to repeat it. You're going to fucking hand wave it and repeat your claim again. Like the dumb shit globe-believing idiot you are. Do you understand me? You're a globe-believing clown.
Yeah, I bowed out. Maybe you didn't hear me. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Do it yourself and see.
Do what? Your claim for the 7th time? You can't even repeat the rebuttal back. You said something about torches, something about the horizon, and it doesn't really matter. In other words, you hadn't listened. Do you think we need an 8th repetition of your claim like we haven't listened to you? We heard you say it 8 times. And after repeating it 8 times like a chanting monkey, you think that's your opportunity to duck out. So basically, you've come here to fucking chant at us. And upon anything being put back to your claim that you've chanted 8 times, you're going to fuck off. So it's I chant, then disappear, you complete coward. So no actual debate, just your claim 8 times. No recognition of the rebuttal, no repetition of the rebuttal, no comprehension of the rebuttal. Just a chanting twat saying the same thing 8 times and then buggering off when it's pointed out. Why are you here? You're thick. You don't deserve to be here, Left Lane. Tell me for the 9th time that people can just do your claim. You chanting fundy idiot. Chant for me, Left Lane. Tell me anybody can do it like we didn't hear it the first 8 times. So literally all he had to offer was to chant a claim 8 times.
I think it's
Can I say
evident it
something
was
now?
his first debate.
Yeah, debate isn't about offering a claim, and then when someone challenges it, talk through it, and then repeat the claim 7 more times. That's not a debate, Left Lane. And as a result of your total lack of comprehension when it comes to listening to a rebuttal, and your complete misapprehensions about what a debate even is, you've come here and chanted like a Hare Krishna. Just chanted the same thing 8 times. Do you think you did well? Do you think your exit note of the same thing for the 8th time, anybody else can do my claim? Do you think that's a winning point to duck out on? Or an absolute embarrassment for your globe earth belief? Yeah, just gonna duck out, right, Left Lane? No, all I wanted to do was chant the same thing 8 times. I didn't expect to actually have to rebut a challenge to it. My God, no, I'll just talk through those things. To the point where I can't even repeat them. Do you think it would have been better for you to have not talked through other people responding to your chanting? I'm talking to you, Left Lane. Do you think it was reasonable to talk through every single response that was given to you while you chanted the same thing 8 times?
The irony.
Pathetic. I hope you enjoyed getting told off, Left Lane. You're thick.
Can I say something, Nathan?
Go ahead, Brian. I'm done with this clown.
Yeah, thank you. The reason at the start I brought up Eli's observation that he has video of is because the moon is lit on the west side and the sun is rising on the east. So that's the end of it. I was attacking his, although Adam, you were saying it was a separate argument. What I was doing was attacking his pre-assumptions. They're over there now. No matter what he says about his golf ball, he could never replicate that using the sun. That's why it's over. Eli brought this up in Discord and other places, and they won't talk about it because it destroys their belief. Eli has the video, more than one actually.
You say, Brian? To hold up a golf ball at sunrise, these morons think that those direct rays that are hitting the ball is only going to illuminate the top half of that ball and not illuminate the entire surface, which it should do at sunrise and sunset with a direct light source hitting a face, and then even push it out 250,000 miles further. It should be getting almost full sunlight towards the earth always.
Yeah, I mean, if you hold up a golf ball at sunrise, the light is going to hit. You're going to have a light spot on one side of the golf ball, but the rest of the golf ball is not going to be dark. I mean, I was attacking the pre-assumptions. There's loads of pre-assumptions going on that somehow the golf ball is going to look exactly the same as the moon. It'd be impossible. The moon doesn't have a hot spot on it. The golf ball is going to have a point, a light point on it, like a hot spot on the golf ball. Anything you use is going to have that. You know, tis nonsense. Just attack the pre-assumptions.
Yeah, the even light is the killer. QE Boy brings this up when he covers this subject, which is the specular reflection that you'd have, or what we receive is an even amount of light across the whole surface. Well, that wouldn't be possible unless it was a completely flat surface to achieve your specular reflection. Well, if it's as claimed to be a physical rock in the sky with craters all over it, well, it's going to diffuse the light. bounce off in all sorts of random ways? Or is that what we observed? No, it's completely even. So it's definitely not a reflection from the sun.
But this is truly visible, especially when the moon is very lightly illuminated. So in the first few percentiles, and you'll see that the moon is on the right hand side, the sun is on the left, but only the top sliver is illuminated. And then on the next day, it's progressively more and more in exactly that same orientation. The moon is on the right, the sun is on the left, and the amount of illumination grows day by day, but it's still fairly in the same position, which is ludicrous. And if you hold up a ball, you'll see that entire face of that ball is always illuminated.
Precisely my point. Well said.
If this, like, there is no way that, let's just say there's a quarter moon, right, and it's the evening time, daytime, and it's coming into the nighttime. There's no way that quarter moon can stay in your sky. You're looking at it in the daytime, and then it's moved across your sky a little bit, and it's nighttime, and it's still there as a quarter moon. There's no way, if the sun is lighting that up, that can stay as a quarter moon. It can't. It has to change. It can't be just a quarter moon. It has to change. Even in their own rhetoric, it has to change. There's no way for that to stay exactly as a quarter moon, and then the next few nights later, it'll be a half moon. It just doesn't. It's not possible. If the sun is moving, or we're rotating, and it's moving around, and the moon is moving around us, it can't just stay in the daytime. And I've seen it only recently, where there was a half moon in the daytime, and then it moves just a couple of degrees across the sky, and it's literally going from just slightly to my left to slightly to my right. Hours later, it's dark, like well into the nighttime. The moon is there, and it's still only lit the same way. So it's a half moon during the day, and it's still a half moon looking only barely across to my right. Still a half moon in the nighttime.
Right. We should
It's
see.
not possible.
It's back to these analog changes that we should see but don't. It's a very much a sort of a digital. The following night it'll progress a little bit further, and then throughout that night it'll stay exactly the same as you look at it. And as Brian's detailing, as we moved on a turning Earth in that model, then the light that's reaching the sun from our vantage point is going to change as we move in relation to the sun. But we don't see that. It just stays exactly the same throughout the night. And likewise, we don't see any motion other than the motion of the stars moving in a very analog fashion throughout the night. But then they change position, and the following night they're in a slightly altered position. Same goes for the moon. You're not seeing any analog change as we're claimed to move underneath it to reposition our position to the moon with respect to its position to the sun. Well, we would change. We'd see a different angle to it as we moved around on a turning Earth. And you'd see that change as we moved. We don't. It stays exactly the same all night.
Exactly. If this was a constantly moving system, we were moving, and the system is all moving, we'd have to be seeing changes throughout the night that we don't see.
Anybody else got anything to add on this?
I don't know what to tell you. I've done it and it works. You're all welcome to try.
Perfect ending. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you first and foremost to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, there is a link to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!